earlier today, Bernie Sanders was on CNN with Jake Tapper. And there has been a lot of talk among American progressives and young liberal voters claiming that they are so angry at Joe Biden for his unstinting and unlimited support for Israel and its destruction of Gaza, that for them that is just a red line that will cause them to refrain from voting for Joe Biden no matter what, no matter who he's running against. And they have said this over and over. And it's not just progressive voters and younger voters, but also Muslim and Arab voters who are particularly important in several swing states, most importantly Michigan, where if they really did refrain in large numbers from voting for Biden due to their anger over Biden's support for Israel and its war against Gaza, that could actually make the difference, not just in Michigan, but in the election. And so Bernie Sanders was asked whether or not that is a serious threat, that progressives would actually do that, would actually refrain from voting for Biden, even if his opponent were Trump. And this is what Bernie Sanders said in response to Jake Tapper.
President Biden has caught a lot of criticism from the left on his support for Israel amid this war. You're a leader on the progressive left, the movement that you helped create in your presidential campaigns. Do you think that young progressives in the United States will ultimately rally behind Joe Biden in November, or has he seriously damaged his standing?
Look, I think we will see what happens in November because the choice is pretty clear. Running against Donald Trump, who I suspect will be the Republican candidate, is one of the most dangerous political figures in modern American history. So I think people will end up rallying around Biden. But there is no question it is very hard for young people, I think for most Americans, to be excited about what is going on right now. President has got to change course. He has been very clear. He has expressed his concern about, quote unquote, indiscriminate bombing. He has asked Netanyahu over and over again to change course. Netanyahu just yesterday said, no, we're going to continue doing what we are doing. Unacceptable. You cannot give billions of dollars to a country that ignores your wishes, violates international law. So I would hope that the president follows through on his concerns and says to Netanyahu, this is unacceptable. You're not getting a nickel more from the United States unless you radically change course. We're not going to see hundreds and hundreds of thousands of children starve to death.
No, this is such classic Bernie Sanders because for the first 2 or 3 months of the campaign, of the war rather, Bernie Sanders was vehemently supportive of the Israeli war in Gaza. And he adamantly refused when asked if he would support a ceasefire. He continuously said, absolutely not. A ceasefire will help Hamas. And so when it mattered, Bernie Sanders stood up and defended Joe Biden's support for Israel. He defended what the Israelis were doing and the fact that arguably the most influential voice in the progressive left was defending Joe Biden's Israel policy and his support for an arming of Israel made a big difference in terms of the posture of the Democratic Party that said, like, even if even Bernie Sanders is unwilling to criticize Biden for doing this, well, that gives us all the space in the world that we need to also support Joe Biden. Now, as it increasingly doesn't matter because the Israelis have made very clear that they don't care what the Biden administration says at this point, they extracted, and Biden willingly gave the commitment that the United States is going to fund and arm Israel no matter what it does. There are no red lines the Israelis can cross that could jeopardize the funding that the United States is providing them or the weapons that the United States is providing them to fight this war. So obviously, if you're Israel and you hear from Joe Biden, as they've repeatedly heard, look, we may criticize you, but don't worry, we're going to give you all the money and the arms that you need. Obviously, if you're the Israelis, you're going to ignore what Biden and his officials are saying because it doesn't matter if they criticize you since the support is inevitable and unconditional. And that's what Bernie helped create. Now they have a political problem. The political problem is that the younger voters, the more left-wing voters, the Muslim and Arab voters have become enraged by Biden's support for Israel and have repeatedly said that they would not vote for Biden as a result of this anger. And so they need to give away, and as this war keeps going on, and Biden's still a patron of this war, obviously that anger builds and builds, so they need some way to try and tell these leftists who are threatening not to vote for Biden, oh, look, there's still a place for you in the Democratic Party. So now you have Bernie Sanders coming out when it really doesn't matter. saying Israel's war is illegal and immoral, and the United States should no longer support it, knowing full well that it's not going to have any impact on what Joe Biden does. But he's creating this illusion for the left that, look, there's still a space for you in the Democratic Party. Even though I'm an independent, technically, I support the Democratic Party. I support Joe Biden, and I'm as angry as you are about what Israel is doing. So we're still allies. You and I, we think just exactly alike. And the reason Bernie's doing that is so that he can maintain this channel to continue to speak with those people with credibility to say, look, I know we're angry at what Biden is doing in Israel. It's wrong. I agree with you that it's wrong. But at the end of the day, we still have to vote for Biden. That's Bernie's role. That's the role of AOC and Bernie Sanders in the Democratic Party. They create the illusion that if you're disaffected, if you're angry at Joe Biden, if you're angry at the Democratic Party, if you dislike the Democratic Party, there's still space for you in the Democratic Party because there are people who think like you do, Bernie and AOC. And they're going to tell you, they're going to validate your anger, they're going to validate your emotions. They don't ever affect anything, but they're there to make you feel like even if you're an angry, rebellious liberal or leftist, you still find like-minded people in the Democratic Party. And those are the people who are going to tell you that no matter how angry you are, it is still your overarching moral duty to go and vote for Joe Biden because of how uniquely dangerous and threatening Donald Trump is. So that is what Jake Tapper is asking Bernie to do. He's not really asking, what is your prediction? He's really saying, this is your time to speak to those people and tell them they still have to vote for Biden. And Bernie performed his function as he always does, very loyally. Said, I'm angry at Biden, not another nickel for Israel. But the real point of this message, the only thing that actually matters in what Bernie's saying is, even though I'm angry with you, we still have to vote for Joe Biden. And what Bernie is saying is like, of course, these people who are throwing a fit and pretending that they're not going to vote for Biden, we're going to scare them about Trump. We're going to keep telling them Trump is Hitler. Trump is coming to take away the rights of their trans friends. And Trump is going to create camps for dissidents. All the stuff that the New York Times was previewing. That Trump is going to be a dictator, that Trump is going to be a fascist. And Bernie's laughing at the idea that these progressives and leftists will maintain any amount of independence and won't do what they're told at the end of the day, because he's right to think that, because in this country, there's a kind of hard left that always maintains its independence of the Democratic Party. They won't vote Democrat. They vote for Jill Stein, or they vote for Ralph Nader. They were preparing to vote for Cornel West if he were going to be on the ballot. And they're always the people who follow their convictions and don't vote for Democrats, but they're a very small number, the people who don't vote Democrat who are leftists. The people you need to keep in line in captivity are liberals and leftists, and that's what Bernie's there to do. And he's laughing at the idea that they won't vote for Democrats because they always vote for Democrats, because it always works to scare them, to say, oh, look, the Republican is worse no matter how angry you are at the Democrats. And that's why Bernie says, of course they're going to snap into line at the end. They always do, these people. We just play with them like marionettes. They're our little puppets. We let them be angry for a little while, and then we're like, okay, get into the voting booth and do your job and vote for Biden, and then go out. Now, the irony of this is that Bernie is recognizing the obvious truth that if Biden tells Netanyahu, you're going to get our weapons, you're going to get our money no matter what you do, then Netanyahu's going to ignore Biden and all of his requests to be more civilian friendly in how he carries out this war, because once you pledge unconditional support to somebody, they no longer rationally care about your grievances. Everyone who ever sat down at a negotiating table knows that what leverage is you have to have a credible threat to walk away. If someone knows that you're desperate to do a deal and that you'll take whatever you can get, they're never going to give you anything more than what they want to give you, because they know at the end of the day you're too scared to get up and leave. You're going to stay there and you're going to sign what they tell you to sign no matter what. So they're going to only give you what you want. You have no leverage. You've lost your leverage because you've pledged that you're not going to walk away. Conservatives are very good at this. The Republican Party fears conservative voters because conservative voters say, I only will vote for Republican Party leaders if we get what we want. And actually, the centrists in the Democratic Party are very good at this too. They won't give their votes unless they get what they want. The people who are the worst at this are liberals and leftists. So they can recognize, in the case of Israel, that Joe Biden's pledge of unconditional support for Israel makes Joe Biden's grievances irrelevant. But somehow they can't recognize that their pledge of unconditional loyalty to and support for the Democratic Party makes their grievances irrelevant. And Bernie Sanders is laughing at them and mocking them, knowing that these are the people who are the most easily manipulated, the most easily put in captivity, and who always run to vote for Democrats every 2 years because all you have to do is tell them that Republicans are scarier. And that's what Bernie is saying is going to work in this case as well, like it always has before. We'll see if he's right. I think the level of intensity and anger at Joe Biden for supporting the Israeli war in Gaza, now going on to its 4th month, is more intense and greater than I've seen among American leftists and liberals, the kind who vote for Democrats. But I also share Bernie's skepticism that they're going to maintain that. I think this onslaught of propaganda that Trump is this dictator, that a fascist, he's a singular evil in American political life, no one's ever been like Trump, is going to scare enough leftists and liberals, even the ones now pledging they won't vote for Joe Biden, that they will snap into line like they always do and go be good Democrats and vote for Biden. But that is what Bernie's role is, and AOC's role is to tell them, we're like you, we share your anger, but at the end of the day, you're going to vote Democrat. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.